If you want to be a better public speaker, you have to be like this little tree right behind me, this little pine tree, this little guy right here. We bought this pine tree 8-9 years ago when it was much smaller. It was in a pot. We brought it home. We had it outside on the patio. It was great. It was growing. Every Christmas we would bring it in, decorate it, enjoy it during the Christmas season. Then when Christmas was over, we would take off the decorations, put it back outside year after year. And the tree kept growing bigger and bigger and bigger. And we transplanted it from pot to pot to pot until finally it was just too heavy to bring into the house. There was a lot of dirt and it was a pretty big pot and the tree was pretty big with lots of roots. And we just couldn't bring it into the house anymore. So we got another smaller Christmas tree and pine tree and we've started the whole process all over again. But there came a point in time when the tree stopped growing. It was living, but it was not getting any bigger. It wasn't really sprouting that many new pine needles. And we thought, well, we can't plant it in the backyard. I don't want to throw it away. What are we going to do? We're going to just leave it there? And I thought, no. So what I did was, a couple weeks ago, I dug it out from the pot, which was no mean feat, and I put it on a stroller and I pushed it 2 kilometers all the way, there's a nice horse and rider, all the way from that village right over there where I live, just outside of Geneva, Switzerland. That also was no mean feat. I brought it here to the forest and I planted it. And every now and then I walk by to see how it's doing, and it's doing well. It's actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think it has grown a little bit. I was afraid that the shock would be too much for it, but no, it seems to be doing well. And this is coming back to my opening point about being like this little tree. You might be a good speaker already, but you might be speaking all the time in the same environment, to the same people, at the same club, in the same type of business situation. And that's great, but are you really growing? When you take yourself out of an environment that's familiar and you push yourself into something that is different, that is challenging, that raises the stress levels a little bit, that's where we find our biggest growth. And if you look around and we look up, this little tree is surrounded by trees that are all much bigger. And when we think about great speakers, they may seem huge to us, but they didn't start out that way. All of these trees started off little small trees, little seeds actually, and they grew over time. And I'm hoping that this little guy here does the same. Start out small, end up big. And it's the same with our speaking. You can be like this little tree, transplant yourself to someplace new, try speaking in an unfamiliar environment, and watch the growth happen.